We all gather here today to celebrate Martin Hunter's life. Professor Martin Hunter was a genuine proponent of peace. In fact, he was greatly involved in the creation of the Global Institute for Peace here at the University of São Paulo from its very onset, becoming its vice president for international cooperation many, many years ago. Martin Hunter was an educator and a visionary who believed in the collaboration amongst individuals and nations. He successfully promoted and motivated, for instance, a closer relationship between the nations of India and Brazil and many more from all over the world. Today, we gather here from all corners of the world to celebrate his life achievements and to honor him. We can see that he has been able to reach many of his goals. To honor his legacy, let us strive to continue in a confident and decisive manner, moving forth in the direction of global peace. On behalf of the president of the University of São Paulo, Professor Vahana Gopian, we thank Professor Martin Hunter for his contribution, inspiration, and friendship. Personally, I would like to extend my thank you very much to his wife, Linda Hunter, a great supporter of his initiatives and peace ideals. I would like to invite Professor Marike Paulsen, GLIP's Vice President for Global Affairs, to lead this ceremony onwards.
Thank you, Jay. This is a lot harder for the two of us than we ever imagined. Professor Martin Hunter, to our Brazilian family, to our Paulistas, is known as the Vice President for Europe of the Global Institute for Peace Studies. I used to be the one for North America and now for Global Affairs, and Dr. Samantha for India. I don't think we are at a point yet to acknowledge that he is no longer a vice president with this Paulista and USP family. And at the same time, our Brazilian family is very much connected with India, with the Kalinga Studies for Social Sciences, and for us known as KISS, the tribal school with now 27,000 children. And it is there that Martin has connected so many people. You and I have been connected there through Martin. Jan was there. Later on, Constantine visited with his family. Martin has given a lot to that tribal school, along with Johnny Vider, another giant whom we've also lost. And so here we are with our, I would say, our Brazilian Indian family, and with then the diversity ones from Europe, Jan and Constantine. Before I give the floor to Jan, I would like to say a few words, especially for Linda, for whom we're doing this especially. Those in the community of international arbitration know Martin as the one who is behind Freshfields and the legendary book, Redfern and Hunter. But what is really important to know is that Martin was one of those international arbitration specialists who ventured beyond. And the group that we are with today is much broader. We are with the University of Sao Paulo. We not only focus on dispute resolution or mediation, we worked with the School of Engineering, we worked with the Institute of International Relations. The GLIP family, as we call it, is with Martin and with Dr. Samantha and with Federico Straube, but also with Beatriz Paredes and the Enriquez. El Male Bueno, Don Enrique Iglesias and Don Enrique Garcia, and Laura Chinchilla and Nelida Piñon. So Martin was part of something that goes way beyond our little club of international arbitration. Not only was he a lawyer and a professor and a scholar, he was more than anything a mentor. And Martin invented the concept of mentorship before it became en vogue. He was one of the first young ICA mentors, but beyond that, he mentored younger students, older students, young lawyers, students who participated in the Vismut, students in Miami, in Sao Paulo, in India. And he did that so naturally and effortlessly. And during the last times that we would get together in Brazil, Martin talked about the fact that he never had children. And I think many of us in the arbitration community think about what our legacy is. Is it the fact that some of you have done so many arbitrator appointments, that you have built a firm, that you have built up generational wealth, that you have written many books, or that you're simply famous? And then most conclude that your legacy is your children. And I think that Martin has left a global legacy of so many children around the world, called the M's, called his godchildren. They called him godfather, god-grandfather. And I think there are many children around the globe who are really hurting this week. And with that, he is absolutely the magic mentor with an incredible legacy. I think what was so unique about Martin is that he understood that what you like, you do well. And if you do well, you like it. And he has truly found what we call the ikigai. He has found his passion. And I'm not sure if his passion was really the practice of law or writing about law. I think his passion was passing on his wisdom to the next generation, which he has done with so much grace and with loving very hard. Martin is somebody who went beyond diversity. And I want to make this very clear. There are not many women on this call, but please, I will not ever allow anybody to accuse Martin of being part of a club, of somebody who doesn't appreciate gender diversity, of somebody who doesn't know how to appreciate regional diversity, because that is in his core. It's what he does without thinking about it. And the best example is what he did in India. He has given so much of his time and resources to Bhubaneswar. That came from a very authentic place. And so that is Martin to many of us, the mentor who gave and gave and gave until the very end. Now, does that make Martin a saint? I would think not. I think our Martin was a very, very big pain in the neck sometimes. And he would spend many years yelling at our publisher. Now I wonder, perhaps rightfully so. He would voice his opinion, even if that meant he would offend, especially the Americans, which I must say I enjoyed very much. He was not a saint. But the thing is, Jay, he was a pain in the neck, but he was our pain in the neck. And we're going to miss him so much. Now, it might be a Dutch saying, or it might be just my Dutch mother who would say, good girls go to heaven and bad girls go everywhere. And I think heaven just gained another rebel. And with that, I would like to give the floor to Jan. Jan, you need to unmute yourself.
Jay, let me say that I think it's very wonderful and particularly fitting that you and your colleagues in Sao Paulo so quickly took the initiative to organize this moment. For all I know, it's the first in these days that have followed Martin's passing. And it's so fitting that that it's a gathering initiated in Brazil and not in England, just as an illustration of how far opposite to insular this Englishman was. And there's something else, Jay, I want to commend you for. You started with something which is often said, and it's a wonderful thing to say when one remembers the passing of a dear soul. We're here to celebrate the life. It's often said, but in this particular case, it's particularly appropriate because in the last couple of days, as I've thought of Martin's passing, honestly, I cannot say I'm shattered or devastated or depressed. I'm a bit melancholy, but when I think of Martin, I just can't help smiling, remembering his mischief, his instinct for being a rascal and upsetting people a little bit who were expecting something conventional. And even if it was maybe called for sometimes, he thought, well, let's just see if we can look at things from the opposite point of view. And that will take us a bit further because it's unexpected and it makes us reach down into our brains and find something other than the conventional thing that everyone can say and think. So yes, celebration, as I think in my melancholy, it's broken by the recollections of so much fun and so much joy and so much help from a fellow traveler who eases our passing on this mortal coin and makes it all worthwhile. As Marika said, we think of Linda at this time as well, who was his steadfast companion through all the years. It's a passage for you, which is difficult for anybody else to imagine, but we are with you in thought and appreciate the things that you did for us as well as for Martin through the years. Thank you so much. Marika, I pass the baton back to you. You will divide the waves.
It's really hard because you always find the words to now make me break in the moment. I'm going to give the floor to Constantine. And Constantine, we're so happy you joined us. It was very last minute, but obviously you are with Freshfields and you are now the author of the book and you've been to India. And so you're part of this family as well. And so I'll give the floor to you.
Thank you very much, Marika, and to you, Jay, to both of you for having this, thinking of this initiative so quickly. I think this is going to be the first of many such events, and if I were invited to speak at a few of them, there are so many different things I could say about this man, this magical man who enriched our lives. But let me say this in particular for Linda, who I've sent a message to but haven't been able to speak to since Ellen Redfern sent me an email on Saturday morning, which changed how we were all feeling so profoundly. Of course, Martin Hunter was a great international arbitrator. Of course he was, but he was so much more than that. And if I'm to encapsulate what he was to me, I find myself using words that are often overused. The first is inspiration. His inspiration was a visceral inspiration. When you were with Martin, you were inspired. And his was a mentorship, as Marika said, unlike most others, because it began before that word was so often used. He was a magical mentor. And I'm one of the many thousands of people, and I don't think that is an exaggeration, who above and beyond that could also call him a friend. And Martin's friendship was real friendship at the moments you needed it most, even when he didn't agree with what you were doing, which, as we all know, he would make very, very clear. I arrived at the firm that Martin used to refer to as the firm formerly called Freshfields 2 years after he left. And it was one of my regrets that I hadn't overlapped with him. But I needn't have worried because Martin made it his business to meet the new generation of arbitration lawyers at his old firm. And for him, that wasn't business. For him, that was personal. And very, very quickly, the distance in generations, I realized, was no distance at all. And I realized I was in the presence of a rare visionary, someone that Jan had told me, and that Alan Redfern keeps telling me, was perhaps the first human being in the world to think that international arbitration was worthy of being its own legal specialism. Maybe the first brain to think that in history. And so he built the arbitration team with Alan, who, as Alan tells me, recognized that Martin should be listened to because he tended to be right about these things. They brought in a young, ambitious Jan Paulsen who took that practice to the next level. And I often heard him referring to me, and I like to be referred to as his grand protege, not a direct protege, but like a grandchild, a grand protege. And then many years later, I had the privilege of accepting his invitation to help him with my good friend Nigel Blackaby and Alan Redfern on the book. And then I knew what it was like to work with Martin Hunter, and he really could be an exacting taskmaster. I'm happy to say that the last meaningful conversation I had with Martin involved him playfully, but entirely impossibly to ignore, complaining about how far we were behind with the 7th edition. And it's a remonstration that I can tell you over the course of this week, Alan, Nigel, and myself have reminded ourselves of, and we will make sure we get that next edition done to the quality and with the speed that Martin would have wanted, although he'd still not be entirely happy with it. I want to say that it's been a privilege being his friend and being a mentee and being inspired by him these last 20 years. And my message above all is to Linda. Linda, he has not only left a great legacy, but your Martin is someone who has been greatly loved around the world.
Thank you, Constantine. It is so true that Martin is somebody where we talk about words of he's magical and he loves art and he is a visionary, and at the same time he's a rebel, a pain, and mischievous. And I must say, what you just said, Constantine, and I think you said it also in Gar, that he is the one who hired Jan to be his successor, which I did not know, which is interesting. And I remember we were in Brazil, where he had quite a few Chardonnays and had this mischievous look on his face, where he told me, well, you know that Jan is my successor, and I found him. So, and I think I smile because it's that little rebel that he is, that he likes to poke a bit, and for that we love him so much. Jay, I'm going to give the floor back to you now, so you can also introduce the rest of our friends who are with us today.
Thank you, Marike. It's good to hear these words that, we can see the smirk on his face. And as Jan put it so well, that celebrating life is a moment not only to be in grief, it's a moment to think about the beautiful and joyful moments we shared. For this, I would like to invite someone who is very close to him too, and Alipak Banerjee, who's talking to us from India right now. Alipak, please.
Hi. Thank you, Jay and Marika, for organizing this. I met Martin in 2008 at the KIIT University, where I was a student. And I've known him for the last 13 or 14 years. It's a personal loss, but I would like to say a few things. In the initial phase, of course, we did not even realize how big a name Martin was. So, the first time he came down to a university for a lecture, he behaved like a friend. We just interacted with him, had a couple of gin and tonics. And after that, when we went back and did some research, then we actually got to know how big this gentleman is. So that has always stayed in my mind. When I look at young practitioners, when I speak at conferences, I always tell myself, you have to be as grounded, as polite as someone like Martin. So these are life lessons which he has taught all of us. And someone was mentioning about M's. There are 28 M's, 27 M's which he has had, and I was M number 22. He has had an impact on our character, if I may say so. the humility, the politeness, empathy for people. Now, this is besides, of course, we all know he was such a big practitioner. Besides teaching international arbitration, he helped us become a better person. So then in 2010, I was in London. I did some work shadow with him. Then in 2012 to 13, I was with him for a year when I was studying in the UK. The only piece of advice, the only piece of advice he told me was that you should not be working in the UK. I mean, as Indians, when you go abroad, you study, you tend to have an inclination to take up a job and work there for a couple of years and then see how it goes. He always had the mindset that, look, I want to empower 5 or 10 people, and then you guys have to lift up another 20 people. That's how there will be a better world tomorrow. So, I mean, he wanted me to come back to India, which I did in 2013. And every year I met him at least 4 or 5 times in various conferences in London when I traveled for various hearings. He was very happy that I had come back, and I was trying to do in my own way what he always had the vision for young people and young students. So it's a great personal loss for me. And thank you, Auntie Linda, for taking care of all of us whenever we visited Walton. As I've written to you, now with COVID restrictions being lifted, maybe in a couple of months, I'll visit London and personally see you. Take care, and back to Jay. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you, Alipak. Adriana, I would like to reinforce what Marika said about the representation of gender in this panel. We have many more contributions to come. They'll be added in this video, so the final version will look different. And Adriana, you as also someone who has missed our first catedrático at our Global Institute for Peace, Professor Luis Olavo Batista, who was also a dear friend to Martin Hunter. We would like to hear some of your words, please.
Thank you. So to begin with, I would like to remember the happiness and the proud that I have whenever I had the opportunity of saying Professor Hunter. He was a great master. I had a huge admiration for him. And I'm here speaking as one of his passionate students. I met him, I guess it was 2012, during the MOOT. I was going to Hong Kong, and when Gerson invited me to speak here today, I started thinking about what good memories could I bring here. And I realized that I had so many memories and so many good moments with Martin, from since his lessons for the multis, how we should speak, how we should position ourselves, his passion for hairs, from from having lunch with him in London. I even remember meeting with Alipak in London. He was a very inspiring person and a very great master. And one of these moments that I even talked with Gerson that I would like to remember was his friendship with Professor Luis Olavo. When I met Martin, I was still an intern with Professor Luis Olavo Batista. And both professors, they are very inspiring, and they are people who love it to transmit their wisdom. They are very human and very humble. And these are the greatest memories that I have for both of them, especially in 2016, when Professor Martin came here to Brazil for the launch of LEAP, I remember, and also for the launch of his the sixth editions of his international arbitration book. And at this opportunity, they had a meeting in Professor Luis Olavo Batista's office, where all the students, all the lawyers, they simply sit in a round table with Professor Martin, and he talked to anybody. He transmitted all his wisdom, all his advice with such humility. It was very, very, very beautiful. It was very gratificating for all of us. So, as my last words here, I would like to thank Professor for all that he taught us, and let's celebrate Martin.
Thank you, Adriana. Now, if we move back to India right now with Samir. Samir is also one of these friendships that really incorporates so well what Martin was set out to do through his life. Samir.
Thank you, Jay, and thank you, Marie, for inviting me to speak about Martin. It's indeed a pleasure and a privilege at the same time. I knew Martin probably out of all the Indian students the first time I met him in 2005 while I was studying at King's. In fact, they say that some decisions and some people change the course of your life, and Martin just happened to be one of them. I qualified as a barrister at law from Lincoln's Inn, which was solely due to Martin, because I met him during my master's class at King's, and he suggested that I study for the bar because he thought that my skill set was more suited to be a barrister than be a solicitor. So here I am, a qualified barrister only due to Professor Martin Hunter. And it was during my time at the bar, I had the privilege of interning with him, and I happened to be N14, like Oli Park explained that all the M's get numbers. So I happened to be N14 as his research assistant. In fact, in 2008, I still remember an incident. So one of my family friends, I was generally boasting about Dr. Hunter and how great he has been, how nice he is to all his students, more like a friend. And he happened to suggest that why don't we invite him to the university in India? And that was the beginning of a love affair for Martin with India. He continued to come to India till the very last, not the last year, till about 2018, he used to come regularly to the Keep Law School. In fact, Auntie Linda, and I call both of them uncle and auntie because they're more like a family to me. So the loss is very deep and personal. Auntie Linda serves on the board of the charitable school as well as the university. And that not only resulted in Martin coming to India regularly and imparting education, it gave literally wings to children in Bhubaneswar to fly, because so many of them who would not even think about studying abroad not only got the opportunity to pursue their dreams, but also got to learn a lot from his direct mentorship and his involvement. I'm sure Alipak will vouch for that, and many others like Alipak who went from Bhubaneswar to work on with Martin and thereafter are doing very well in their respective lives. So I'm running out of words because Martin and I shared this bond, and I still remember I telling him in 2020 towards March when he wasn't keeping well that I would come and see him in April, but like we know, life just changed thereafter. I mean, everything went into lockdown, and it's one of my deepest regrets that I could not meet Martin one last time. And but this is not a moment to be sad, and Martin would definitely not approve of it. And one message for Auntie Linda, that we are one big family, Auntie. All the M's, everybody that Martin is associated with will be there with you all the time. Please take care of yourself. Thank you, Jay and Marie, for organizing this. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Samir. As you remember, and Ali Pack said so well, Martin liked for people to come to London to learn a little bit about international arbitration, international dispute resolution, but then return to their countries. So the next person who's going to speak is Vitor Castro, that did not listen. He returned to London. So, but in his rebel side himself, he surely would understand that. Vitor.
Thanks for your kind words, Jay. Martin was not just a brilliant mind for us, but Martin was actually one of the best friends I could have had. I met Martin when I was attending my master's at King's College London. And I remember that I asked him to be my supervisor for my dissertation back then. And he immediately accepted the challenge, but he, at the same time, challenged all my ideas. And that was typical Martin, right? And that's exactly how we start this amazing friendship. He taught me so much and inspired the international community to look for peace through not only the legal tools, but mainly by being human. And that's basically, I think, the main lesson that I learned from Martin. So he was obviously well known in the whole community because, as it was mentioned here before, he was the main leader in his field. But it's not only that we talk about Martin, it's all about the other skills that he had, how much help he has offered whenever we needed. Martin offered me actually a family away from home. And this family was not only him, it was him, Linda, all our AM family, so our dear research assistants, and he was always there for us. So it was like an amazing opportunity just to be with Martin and learn so much from him. And also to make friends. This is one of the things that Martin has showed me, how to make friends, even in places that you not even could imagine you could make friends. And he offered always kindness during rough times, and particularly inspired me to always search for the bright side of things, particularly if we have a glass of Chardonnay or some G&Ts. And I think that's the main legacy that we are here to cherish about Martin. So this idea that we can be kind, we can search for peace, and we can make friends. And we expect this friendship to last for many years because we have actually similar goals. We might not see at some moments, but our main goal is to keep making peace. And I think that's what we are here to celebrate. I didn't hear all the advice from Martin, so that's why I returned to London, that's true. But he knew I was in good hands, and that was the funny part. When I returned to London, the first thing he mentions that, how can I help you while you're here? So that's exactly what we are here to remember, and that's the most kind words that I could have for Martin. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Victor. Now we're going to California. We're going to Los Angeles. Professor Brian Jarrett, please.
Oh, thank you, Jay. I appreciate that. I'm glad to be part of the conversation. And just to say a few words about Martin, what I really thought was wonderful about him is that he was able to bring together a lot of people from around the globe, to connect people, and to really take on the over-formalization of the legal business. You know, he was very good at really addressing that. Remember at the conference in Brazil, how he didn't hold anything back when he just, was saying, look, the arbitration and media, all our dispute resolution processes are in danger of becoming too formalized, too legalistic. And he really addressed that and took that on and took it seriously and really wanted to bring back the practices to more human-oriented and, human process-oriented approaches rather than having these things be overly legalistic. And that was a message that I really connected with, and I think he, it's a bit of his legacy then would be that, right? To say that, arbitration and these other practices in dispute resolution, there's a message he had that we should be careful not to have those practices become overly legalized, overly legalistic. And I think that was a big message that resonated with me and others. The other thing I would say is he was really interested in history. I had good conversations with him. And I was surprised his knowledge of legal history and Lord Denning in England, all this stuff coming back. It was amazing, his knowledge of things. And apparently he gave Lord Denning his first arbitration case. So it was an interesting thing to learn as well. So thank you, Jay. I appreciate being here and saying hello to everybody from California. And I think this is maybe in his memory to say, let's all work together to continue to build these alternative practices, arbitration, mediation, facilitation, all these practices that we can really build in this this new field that's emerging, these new emerging professions, you might say, around dispute resolution. So that's my message. Thanks, Jay. Thank you to everybody. Cheers.
Thank you very much, Brian. Now, Renan, please.
Thank you, Jay. So I don't think I have many things to add of what have been said here today, but I just would like to highlight Martin's generosity. When I met him and started work with him 5 years ago, the first thing he said to me was this sentence that Jay reproduced here, that he asked me, what are your intentions for the future? Are you going to return to your country? Because I want to help the ADR community in your country to develop and to increase. So he was so worried about helping communities, helping all of his students, and when I started working with him, he was so in the very first day he invited me to his home to meet Linda and to have lunch with them. So he was not, when I thought about him at that time, I was thinking about like I don't know how to express that, but he was like someone so big for arbitration community. And when I started work with him, when I met him, he was so generous, so simple, so kind with everyone, and he treated all of us as friends since the day one. So I will never forget all the lunches and all the life advices, not only professional advices, but also personal advices. The talks that we had during this 6 or 5 years of friendship. So he will be deeply missed for me and for all of us, I'm sure. And I hope Linda is okay and strong, because I'm sure that is not an easy moment for her. But we all going to be here to help in anything that we can, and we always forever will be celebrating Martin's memory and Martin's legacy, I'm sure, here at CRC. I'm hearing, I met Gerson, I met Vitor because of him. So I'll be forever grateful for everything, for all the friendships that he gave me and all the advices. I think that's it. I think we will be forever celebrating his life.
Thank you, Renan. And now our last words for today, certainly last but certainly not least, Dr. Federico Straube, who is the president of the Conflict Resolution Center at the Global Institute for Peace, and also had the opportunity to interact with Martin Hunter for many, many years. Dr. Federico Straube. You have to unmute, Dr. Federico, just 1 second.
I think now it's okay.
Yes.
Huh? Thank you, Jay. Hello, fellows. I'm very sad to be here to call about the death of a big man, of a very important man. I had the opportunity to meet Martin Hunter through my son, Federico, also called, when he was studying in King's College. It was the first time that I went to London to meet my son and had the opportunity to introduce me to Martin Hunter. After that, my convivence with Martin Hunter had the opportunity to be fostered by the contact that we have always with Gerson Damiani, Jay. Right? The first time after I met Hunter in London, and he came to Brazil, I was invited to Gerson to have a contact with him. And in that opportunity, the project that only was ready last year to establish a new entity of conflict resolution here in Brazil, give me the opportunity to, in one party, with Jay was present there, I think, I had the opportunity to ask him to become one of our vice presidents. I was very happy because he accepted immediately. And then, after the party, he called me and said, Frederico, I will be a reliable vice president. I think that this demonstration of humbleness was so touching that I never forgot that. This is I think that the principal characteristic of his character. He was a humble man. He was a good man. He was a man that came to help the others. And I think that is much more important than all the outstanding situation that he got in the academy environment. So I had many other opportunities to meet Martin, mainly because we are both involved, very well involved in the organization and of the teams, or the Brazilian teams that went to Vismut. And there we had many opportunities to talk and to know better each other. So I would like to honor Martin as a very, very good character, as a very important person from the human point of view, mostly than his academic merits. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Federico Straube. Other than the many traits of personality that you share, being fair and committed to education, I think that you and Martin made similar contributions to foster students to learn about international arbitration. You in your own right, and Martin in his own right. Marika, would you like to say a few closing words?
And so I'm looking at you, Jay, and you have been very humble, because I was looking at all my pictures, finding those of Martin for Linda, and I don't think I have a single picture that is not you and Martin sitting together, and Martin misbehaving and you encouraging him to do more of that. And you and Folkert is not on this call, what the two of you have done for Martin over all these years, and he stayed at your place, and you would take Martin to your beach house, and you are family. And I know I'm very happy to hear from our Paulistas that you will be there for Linda, which I know, because you are truly her family. And I think that it's also heartwarming to hear the stories of his M's and his students and those who were mentored by him. It's just a wonderful thing to see how he has impacted your lives, not just your careers. And this is really Martin's legacy. And for somebody who had no children, that is simply false, because he has so many. And when I looked for pictures of Martin on Facebook, it is safe to say that of that generation, Martin is a superstar on Facebook, because over the years, I cannot tell you how many posts I found of students, our students in Miami, and students from India, and students from Brazil, and Vismut, with my grandfather Martin, my uncle Martin, my godfather Martin, and over the moon happy that they can pose with Martin. And he is a rock star, and he is the magic mentor, period. And that rebel in heaven now. And indeed, we will be there for Linda. and we will do everything we can to honor who he was and to learn from his example, because all the people on this call and beyond across the globe have been connected through Martin. I'm forever grateful that in India and Bhubaneswar, that evening at the hotel, you were introduced to me, Jay, where actually, in fact, Martin was angry with you at 3 o'clock in the morning because he said, Jay, you talk too much and you just need to shut up now. And so that really denied the dynamics of you and Martin. And so with that, Jay, I thank you for doing this. You are truly family to him. Thank you.
Thank you, Marika. I remember very well that day when we met in you and Jan in Bhubaneswar and celebrated that wonderful new family in India with all those actions that have been taken to motivate people who are socially, economically underprivileged to move forward with their lives. And with this in mind, I would like to thank for all the messages conveyed by each and every one of you who spoke here today, and those who are watching us via the transmission on YouTube, and many more contributions to come over the next year, or the next weeks and years. And thank to Linda, and thank to Martin. To celebrate Martin today, I'm not going to have a gin and tonic because I never liked that. I'll have a Chardonnay, okay? Thank everyone. Thank you very much, and have a great day, a great evening, and a great night from wherever you are speaking from around the globe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.